Are we filming? Yes, we are. So, welcome to another podcast episode. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. As I'm now inclined to do, I'm going to do a picture-in-picture so that you can see me for what it's worth, and also you can see my notes for the podcast, so that will aid navigation. Thank you for your responses about this format, this visual format, because it's been universally welcomed. I haven't had anyone say this is not good. So I'm going to do a similar thing. This podcast, what I'm going to do, I have in here, I have a huge number of subjects which we're not going to cover all of them today. Some of them will be in the next podcast, because what I'm trying to do is instead of setting out a fixed number of topics to discuss, and then the podcast varies in length. I mean, the longest has been about over 2 hours, which is ridiculous, I know, but that's the way it is. And some of them have been as short as 30 minutes. What I'm going to try and do today, but forgive me if I overrun, is to try and keep an eye on the clock and try and keep them to just within the hour. So that is the plan. First of all, a little bit of admin. I'm going to try and be brief, and it's going to be even briefer in subsequent podcasts, but I want to just discuss one or two things. First of all, I have had a cold. I'm getting better. I might have to blow my nose, which is, I mean, it's terrible, I know, but I always try, if I can, unless I've got a chronic cough, I always try and film my podcast in one single take, because it's more real that way. That's how I feel. So that I want you to feel as if I'm talking to you, which I am, rather than some contrived, hey, yo, subscribe, da 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 da, bish bash bosh. That's not really my style, as you all know by now. So I have had a cold. I still have the vestiges of a cold. Thank you very much for your best wishes. Several of you have wished me a full recovery, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Next thing I've got down here, change the schedule. Well, I'm going to try and keep it within an hour. But as far as the schedule is concerned, let me just talk about this for a moment. As you know, I have been trying to make videos for 4 days a week: Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, and I've been trying to release them, or upload them, if you like, at 8 p.m. UK time. So there is an element of schedule there, but as you now know, I've not been able to specifically have a podcast on a certain day and a mail time on a certain day, philosophies, and all sorts of different topics that I have, and which are, as you can see, I have a lot of playlists. So if there's something that particularly takes your fancy, then you can run through that particular playlist. I think that's a great thing on YouTube, to allow people to have playlists. But just to confirm, the change to the schedule is that you never know what's going to come up on a given day, other than the fact you can be reasonably certain, if you are a member of the wider viewing public, you can be reasonably certain that I'll have something for you Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays and Sundays. It's not cast in stone, but if I can, that's the plan. And I try to have them around about 8 p.m. UK time on those 4 days a week. I mean, I might have more, I might have less, but that's what I'm trying to do. The podcast format is I'm still trying to refine it, but apart from this little bit of admin, which I'm in future podcasts I'm going to compress, what I'm trying to do is have maybe a dozen topics that are derived from responses to comments and suggestions and questions that you make on my channel. But also I search social media because there are some very, very interesting topics that are worth talking about, and so that's what I'm doing, all to do with paper-based productivity, some filofaxes, some notebooks, some other systems, and also there's a little bit of paper-based politics in there, stores opening, stores closing, and what I think about certain things and sales initiatives that companies are doing. Quite a lot. As you know, I'm fairly outspoken with this sort of stuff. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but if there's something that deserves talking about, you can be sure I'm talking about it. And I have no preference for any company. It is a fascinating subject, and this is what I do. I like the sound of that. This is what I do. I'm gonna hold that thought in my mind. This is just a quick reminder. This is a format which enables people to listen to this in the car or with headphones while they're doing household chores or going for a walk or whatever. So I am trying to be non-visual here. I mean, you can see me if you're watching this. You can see me. That's great. But I'm trying as best I can, even though, as you know, I might make mistakes holding something up and thinking, look at this. I'm trying not to do that. There is a visual version of the podcast, which I intend to do more of, and that is my coffee break series, where they are more for people that are having a coffee or a tea, whatever, and it's things that I want to share with you visually. I want to show you. And finally, just a reminder, I want to try and keep these to an hour, or around about an hour. But because I'm keeping them to an hour, and because there is so much to discuss sometimes, there may be more than one podcast a week on some weeks. But I am trying to break them up into sort of 1 hour episodes, because 1 hour is enough for anybody, I think, to listen to me banging on about stuff. So, without further ado, I want to talk about my first topic. So, here we are. There's a lot I've spent a lot of time writing all this out. So, I'm glad that you like it. Excuse me. Right, first subject. Let's sort out that video. Right, okay. Are we still filming? Yes, we are. Okay, so the video in question is entitled Ink and Paper Test, Moleskin, Noodler's Rome Burning, Noodler's Pens. So this is one where it's one of my ink and paper tests. And a viewer writes, I would define this size as roughly B5, which is officially 176 by 250. But then most notebook sizes are only approximately A or B sizes anyway. So these A and B sizes, they are metric. They're like a European standard, as you know. This is what I want to talk about. Okay. First of all, I keep a journal, as you know, several volumes over the years. Some of it is sadly lost, unfortunately, but I started my journaling on Christmas Day 1972. So I've been doing this for about just over 50 years. And those journals vary in size. And this is my opinion specifically about journals. When you are writing some notes, they don't, in my opinion, they don't necessarily have to be in regimented rows on the shelf. They don't have to be the same size. So there are some in A6 format. There are some in, I don't have any A4 format, but I have some in some journal entries using a personal size paper in a filofax. A5 is a common format, but as we know, the A5 format is fairly loose. If you compare many of the A5, ostensibly A5 notebooks you find on the shelves today in stores, they vary. They vary in width and height, and very, very few of them are specifically A5 in size. And some of them may be A sizes, some are B sizes, some are personal size, which is a very unusual size. Although I'm delighted that it remains the same, and it has been for over 100 years, nevertheless, it's a very uncommon size outside the filofax community as we know it. So my view is that so long as you can put these on a shelf, in the same way as if you have a book collection of any era, they're not going to all be exactly the same size. And does that mean that they're going to look terrible on the shelf? No, there is some personal interest there. And so I personally am happy to move from, when I finish, and I'm currently in an A6 or ostensibly A6, and that's not even A6. When I finish that, I might be in an A5 or a filofax, it doesn't matter. So long as at the end of my life, I can put them in a chest, i.e. a trunk, an iron trunk. And I do have one that is that has come from France, a returning soldier after World War II. And it has a label. It has a label to my local railway station, and it's dated 1945. And I have a particular affinity to that trunk, and that is where I will keep my journals, so that they're I mean, I am I don't have any control over it, but I will be entrusting them to maybe my future descendants, but it is possible that someone else will have them because they have an interest in what I've been writing about from a historical perspective. You never ever know. But I quite like the idea of them being in an iron trunk that dates from World War II. So that's an interest for me. Hope it'll be an interest to my future readers in 100, 200, 300 years' time. And they're not going to go, oh no, look, that journal isn't very tidy because that's A6 and the last one is A5. What was this writer? Why couldn't he have picked as a uniform format? Well, I would say it's not necessary. So long as it's legible. That's the reason why I write in capitals, because my joined up writing is so bad. As long as it's legible, hopefully it will be read by future generations. I mean, that is my hope. But when I'm long gone, it won't make any difference to me. Hopefully it will make some difference to those that come after us. I think I've just covered everything, really. So we're going to move on to the next subject. So, next topic. Okay, the video in question is 3 filofax hacks to improve productivity. And the viewer writes, I usually cut my inserts by hand instead of using a trimmer or even scissors, leaving some raft edges written, which I enjoy. I think this gentleman means rough edges. And this was translated. So this chap, English is not their first language, so I'm sure this is a translation. Do you know what? I do appreciate that it is sometimes really, really nice to have every single page exactly the same. So certainly for reference pages that I generally keep in a filofax, I like to buy the economy pages, a pack, what they call an economy pack or a budget pack of 100 sheets. I haven't bought any recently, but I think a couple of years ago I bought something like 1,500 pages worth, which I've nearly run out of actually, because they're neat and tidy and they work well with standard filofax dividers. Other dividers are available. However, when I'm writing with, doing other things which are more transient, like a diary or a to-do list, I tend not to have them in a uniform size. Although this is a sort of audio specific podcast, if you are looking at this and reading my notes, you can see that these are, let me just forgive me if you're reading this with audio, but if I just move this over, you can see that some of these pages aren't even cut with a pair of scissors. They are folded over, and then I use a ruler to just slice them, and it forms this rough edge. So if you're listening to this, I'm showing viewers the rough edge where you fold a page and then use a ruler to separate the two pages each side of the fold. And the reason why I do that is for two reasons. Well, maybe three. I mean, one is it appeals to my sense of being a paper productivity renegade, but also doing my own thing. But also it means that when you flick through the pages, there is a significantly reduced possibility of two pages being stuck together, because adjacent sheets of paper are different, ever so slightly different in size, and also there is potentially a rough edge that is more easily picked up by the thumb if you're thumbing through. So you're more likely to be able to turn over a page. And I'll give you an example. If you're reading a brand new hardback book and you turn over each page, it is a possibility that you will have to look at the number of the page before you turn over and momentarily double check that you haven't accidentally turned over two pages instead of one. However, when that book becomes well thumbed, well used, so the pages are a bit that turn over, the paper becomes a little bit more ragged, it is far less likely that you will accidentally turn over two pages. And for me, that is a major, major advantage with what I call the rough cut, i.e. you're basically folding loosely, cutting roughly, and it achieves a more or less the same size of pages nominally, but they're all slightly different. And it means that from an efficiency of turning over pages, so long as you like that sort of thing, so long as you don't want everything absolutely pristine as if it's a text block that's come off an industrial guillotine where everything is perfectly smooth. I mean, I can understand the appeal of that, but as a working tool, I think a rough cut is a better way. That is what I do. That's the second time I said that. That's the second time. I've got to remember that, because I quite often say, "Are we filming?" Yes, we are, which has become a bit of a trademark. I wonder whether that is what I do. Will become a trademark. Who knows? Hold that thought. The other thing is crumpling. What do I mean by crumpling? Crumpling is where, and I'm going to do it for those viewers, but also if you are listening, I just want you to imagine what's going on. So I'm just getting my hand and just roughly crumpling the page. What does that achieve? So you've got a few crinkles in the page. Roughly crumpling the page. I don't know whether that's the right words, but I like it, so I'm going to use it. It means that there is the page is lifted slightly from the next page so that it's more easy to thumb through, as you can see if you're watching, and if you're not watching, you can hear me flicking through the pages with my thumb. That works really, really well. So again, what I'm trying to do is dispense with the uniformity and replace that, sacrifice that uniformity, that visual uniformity, with something that becomes more adept to productivity as a working tool. So that's my theory. I'm sticking to it. Some will agree, some won't. Let me know in the comments what you think. This discussion might continue, and I just want to highlight the fact that if your comment is something that interests me, and to be honest, a lot of them are, I do find them interesting, and I am trying, even now, even though I get a lot more, I am trying to reply to every single one of you, at least at the moment, as I record this in March 2023. If you're listening to this in 2024, sorry. If you're listening to this 10 years down the line, then it might be either that I'm not here anymore, or it may be that the channel has grown to the extent that I simply cannot answer. But at the moment, as I record this in 2024, I am endeavouring to respond to all of them, or all of your comments, and those comments may well appear in a subsequent version of the podcast. So I just want you to know that. Okay, next video. And how are we doing? 22 minutes. Again, this is the video that is ink and paper test, Moleskines, Noodler's Rain Burning, Noodler's Pen. And a viewer writes, I really do not like Moleskine paper for fountain pens. And then also adds, how do you tell the good from the bad before buying? And I've put, as you can see if you're seeing this, rumour is your friend. Now, I don't want to be disparaging to the Moleskine brands, because with the exception of the paper quality, I love the brands. I love the way they look. I love the way they handle. And if I am using my weapon of choice, which is a Pilot G2 in blue, and I use the 1mm broad point rather than the standard 0.7, there's something about the Moleskine paper, most of the Moleskine paper, hold that thought. There's something about, for me personally, and we're all different, a Pilot G2 1mm broad tip that just works for me. And even though there is show through, so you can turn over the page and see what you've written on the other side, because it's not bleeding through but showing through. There is something about the G2 that it's such a bold statement on the page, this broad blue consistent line, that even it just lifts it above the inevitable show through. And I will probably talk about this and maybe do a demonstration video at some point illustrating what I call the broad point advantage. The broad point advantage. But I like the colour of the paper. I like the feel of it. I accept I accept that it's not going to be great for fountain pen. I mean, for most of the most Moleskine notebooks, it's impossible. They're not compatible with fountain pen. However, the reason why I have thought about this and spoken about it, in fact, I recently did a video comparing two identical Moleskine notebooks that are bought from the same shelf, from the same store on the same day, and one had very, very good paper for fountain pen use, and the other one was, the polite way of saying it wasn't compatible with fountain pen use. Other people might use more colourful language, but there was a huge difference in the paper quality. And in answer to what the viewer writes, how can you tell the good from the bad before buying? And I would say, perhaps more eloquently, how can you tell the good from the bad from the ugly? Because there's an awful lot of ugliness out there. And I recently saw on social media, I saw that the Moleskine company, such as it is, they had an image. They actually had an image of someone holding a fountain pen about to use it on their Moleskine notebook. And that was a trigger for me to investigate this, because I have tried that before and I have found that it's not suitable for fountain pens. But then I've used Moleskines for at least 10 years, maybe a dozen years, and I like them. But apart from at the very beginning, I tried fountain pen and dismissed them because there was so much bleed through. It was not possible to use the opposing page because so much ink had bled through. I never really gave it any more thought, and I found myself using pencil sometimes, but mainly my Pilot G2 with the broad tip, and I love it. I love that combination, the Moleskine paper and the Pilot G2 in blue. So I did I had a look, as you do, on social media, and suddenly found that I'm not the only one talking about this. There's huge numbers of people talking about their frustrations about how you just don't know whether your Moleskine that you buy is good for fountain pen use, and there is some variation. Right now, as I say this, in March 2024, I have about 10 Moleskines of different sizes, all the way from extra large down to the A6 style Kayes. And I can confirm that one of my A5 Moleskines is fantastic, or relatively good, for fountain pen use. The others are, and I'm trying to be polite here, are not suitable for fountain pen use. But interestingly, in a recent test, I found that the particular pack of 3 Kayes that I have, they are excellent for fountain pen use. Really surprising. And I don't know whether that's the case with all Kayes or just this particular batch. And the frustration that I have, and the reader no doubt finds, or the viewer, is that until you buy your Moleskine, which is covered in cellophane, until you break that cellophane, open the pack and have a look and try the Moleskine, you just don't know whether the paper is going to be good enough for fountain pen use. And there's lots of rumours flying around. The one that I have that is surprisingly good for fountain pen use has a blue quality control sticker. They all have quality control stickers, not the Kai's, but certainly all the others from A6 upwards. And I have read about other people's experiences where a particular blue sticker, which presumably indicates manufacture of a certain batch in a certain factory, happens to be very, very good. And the others, yellow stickers, silver stickers, red stickers, all turn out to be not generally compatible with fountain pen use. Almost like a vintage wine list, where there are good vintages and bad wine vintages. But the difference between wine and moleskins is that you can tell from the bottle of the wine when it was made and where it was made. But with a moleskin, that is hidden inside the cellophane. So before you buy it, when it's on the shelf, you have to take a gamble. You shouldn't have to take a gamble on such an expensive product. You shouldn't have to say, well, this is going to be good for me or not. But the only way of finding out whether it is a good batch of paper or a bad batch of paper is actually buy it, take it home and write in it, and then discover whether it works or not. So paper quality is, shall we say, it varies. So my view, and in answer to what the viewer asks when he says, or she, how do you tell the bad from the good from the bad before buying? Well, you can't. But it is a possibility that you might be able to tell from how the text block is printed, how the corners are cut, how the gap bit, the difference in dimensions between the cover and the pages, that can vary. I did a video comparing a grey and a red moleskin. You can see it. I can't remember what the particular. It's basically a comparison between two moleskin A5 notebooks made. It's about a dozen videos before this one, so maybe a few more. But seek it out. Or you can do a search on the channel by clicking the magnifying glass and then typing moleskin, and all the videos with moleskin in the title will come up. That's a good way of searching for these, and you will see that I have discussed at some length possible ways to help identify certain books that have a good vintage, in inverted commas. So I would say rumour is your friend. Look on social media, look at other people's experiences, because Moleskine clearly use from time to time paper mills where the paper is fountain pen friendly, and on other occasions, and in my experience 9 times out of 10, because I have typically 10 moleskins and only one of them is fountain pen friendly and the rest are not suitable for fountain pen, that might be indicative of the ratio of the good and the bad, or not suitable for fountain pen. There are notebooks that are very, very good for fountain pen use, which, as you will increasingly find, I haven't done. So I have got about 30 notebooks that I haven't tested yet. And I just want to mention this because it is something that I'm acutely aware about. I do not want this channel for people to see it as, oh my goodness, Neil's been, the last 10 videos he's made, they're all about fountain pens and ink and paper, because that's not specifically what this channel is about per se. It is about paper-based productivity, and one of those factors, if you like, is ink and paper and fountain pens. And so I am kind of pacing myself, as it were. But just a little rumor for you. I am about to start another channel, which will have ink and paper tests exclusively, nothing else, just ink and paper. I haven't decided whether that's going to be a good idea, so for the moment I'm going to do ink and paper tests on a separate channel, and I'm going to carry on doing something quite similar on this channel, and there'll be different videos, but there'll be similar subjects, so hold that thought again. Once the plan is to sort of test that in the background, as it were, and then I will let everyone know here once it's up and running. But at the moment, there's nothing to see here. Move along, because the channel is set up, but there's nothing in the cupboard at the moment. But that is something that I'm going to be doing. How are we doing? 36 minutes. Okay. Next one, video, ink and paper test, a different one this time. Talon's sketchbook, Diamine Teal, EDC Marlion pen. By the way, this Talon's sketchbook, for those people that are interested in looking for a fountain pen friendly notebook, I'll tell you now, it is absolutely superb. So have a look at that review, and I think I've got a link somewhere where I do make money from these affiliate links. If I don't have an affiliate relationship and I can find something cheaper, then I don't use the affiliate link. I use the non-affiliate link, which will get you the best deal. So I'm not mercenary about this, but obviously I do make some money from commission if people click these links. And what I do, as you've probably been finding out over the last 2 or 3 months, is that I'm ploughing that back. I'm buying more and more stuff to test. So I'm just putting it back into the channel, basically. So this viewer writes, I'm always wondering what journals will take fountain pen. And my view is, same here. Same here. I am always wondering that as well. And that is why I am testing these notebooks. So it's not just notebooks. I'm testing paper. I am testing paper that people can use in their filofaxes. I'm even testing filofaxes' own paper. So I am going to, I don't have any Midori style paper for travelers notebooks. But I will be doing that. There's so many things on my list. I can't buy everything at once, but I am. If there's a paper out there, I want to, and I haven't tested it. I want to be testing it. It's as simple as that. So I've put down here, I plan to test more, and I've put maybe another maybe another channel, and that is exactly what I'm doing. I have a new channel which I'm working on right now. I can't give you any more news about it yet, but it will be tested. The hope, because I know from the stats that huge numbers of people who follow this channel are specifically interested in ink and paper, and I am absolutely fascinated by that. And although I started not absent-mindedly, it wasn't half-heartedly, because I take all these different permutations and aspects of paper-based productivity seriously. You cannot deny, in my opinion, that how ink on paper works in someone's personal life, not just visually, but therapeutically, psychologically as well, and efficiently. I mean, these are all aspects that are interesting, not just to me, but surprisingly, I was one of the few people that was interested in this, but clearly there are lots of you out there that are interested in that. And I want to share, and now I know that for a fact, I want to share more with you. But I don't want to overwhelm the other aspects, the main aspects of the channel. I don't want the tail to wag the dog, as they say in the UK. So I am starting a specific channel to do with ink and paper, basically. Ink and paper. So watch this space. I will keep you informed. Next video. 3 hacks to improve productivity. Now, there have been several responses to this, and thank you so much if you are one of those. A lot of people have talked about the extension, where I am basically using paper that you can fit in a filofax to extend your diary. And this is something that strikes a chord with a lot of you, because presumably, like me, there is this perennial, is perennial the right word? Annual problem, where people think, now, what size diary should I have? Should I have a day per page, or 2 days to page, 2 days per page, or 2 pages per day, or a week per page? This is an issue that affects all of us. And so one of my hacks in this video was one of my ways of dealing with this. Some people have asked, well, why are you keep on chopping and changing, Neil? It's because I'm trying different things. It's a bit like, I suppose, I mean, it's not a criticism, it's just a genuine question. If you have a car channel, and 1 minute they're in an Audi, next minute they're in a BMW, next minute they're in a, I'm not really into cars, can you tell? I've had about 50 cars in my life. I've only had 1 new car, but I've had 49 second-hand cars. But as far as I'm concerned, they're a vehicle for getting me from A to B, quite literally. And as long as it starts, goes and stops, I'm not really bothered about how fast it goes. But I do appreciate that some people are really interested in that. So you've got all these car channels, and I suppose it's a bit of akin for someone saying, but last week you were driving an Audi and now you're driving a BMW. So what's going on there? Didn't you like the Audi? It's because they are testing different cars, and I am testing different systems, and I'm actively not looking at it and taking a cursory glance. I'm actively trying different, mainly diary systems, simultaneously to get, so that I can give so that my views can be, I can back up my views with some real world usage, as you would expect from someone who runs a channel that is predominantly involved in paper-based productivity. So I am trying different things. It's not that I'm chopping and changing because I just can't settle down. Although, to be honest, I am very much that person with paper-based productivity. But it's not like I'm searching for the holy grail in the diary world, and then I'm going to stick to it, and then say to everybody, right, I'm going to stop doing things on the channel because I finally found the diary I really want. I'm going to look at all the nuances and variations of the paper-based productivity world, and that is why I'm quote chopping and changing, really. And I'm always looking for hacks. I love hacks. So there we go. Next video. This is another one. I should have really grouped these together, but it's the video that is the ink and paper test, Moleskine Noodlers foam burning. Okay, so the viewer writes, their store, and this is the Moleskine store. The Moleskine store at Canary Wharf closed last month. Now, for those of you that don't know, Canary Wharf is the financial district of London. It used to be a series of wharves when London was a principal trading centre with many docks, and products were coming in from the four corners of the world and unloaded in these docks. And Canary Wharf is on they call it the Isle of Dogs, but it's not an island. It's on the north side of the Thames. Just do a Google search for Isle of Dogs. There's a lot of history behind it, but it became a kind of wasteland when shipping containers started to appear. Many dockers were laid off. You know, if you ever see historical videos of ships being unloaded by hand, where a crane would drop a chain or a rope down into the hold, and there'd be people in the hold hooking a box or a sack of stuff, and it'd be lifted out and then put somewhere into a Dockland warehouse. Well, that's all gone with when shipping containers came in, and that's one of the reasons why it costs, things from abroad are cheaper, because that you can take that shipping container off a ship, put it on a rail car, you can put it on a lorry, back of a lorry, a semi, and then it will go to a distribution centre somewhere else in the country. So there was a lot of surplus docks, and Canary Wharf on the Isle of Dogs is one of those, and it became a wasteland. And then in the, I believe, early 80s, then it was designated as an area for development, and it became rapidly the financial district of London. Very important financial centre in globally speaking. And the reason I mention all this, just imagine all these bankers, all these stockbrokers, all these high-flying financial types. Where I live, you wouldn't be able to have a Moleskine store because people would just laugh at the price. It is a great product. It's relatively expensive compared to other notebooks. So there's a certain cachet, and that cachet is carefully nurtured by the Moleskine company. And so they have stores in prestige places, certainly in London. They have one in Covent Garden, which is a centre in London where you have a lot of shops like Gucci and all those Fendi. I'm not really into my labels, as it were, but it's a posh centre, and that shop still exists. In fact, when I filmed in London a few months ago, part of my video, I was standing outside the Moleskine or Moleskine store in Covent Garden. But there was one, up until very recently, at Canary Wharf, the financial centre. Now, I'm just wondering why it closed. And I wonder whether it's indicative of the fact that there are some very, 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 very good cheaper options for Moleskine notebooks that are fantastic, or at least as good as Moleskine. And some of them have much better paper, at least in terms of the ability to accept fountain pen ink without bleed through. So it's perhaps a tough market. Perhaps there are people that earn high wages that are feeling the pinch because inflation is very high, certainly in the UK. There's been a dramatic squeeze on people's incomes all the way up the chain. So one of the things that perhaps is affected is people's discretionary spends, where they're going out to lunch. A lot of people don't go out to lunch. And crucially, and this is a very interesting thing, since lockdown, I mean, I know I'm digressing, but it is a podcast. And this has happened in America as well as the UK, maybe other places too. A lot of people are working from home now, either full-time or quite commonly in the UK, they work from home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and only come into the office maybe on a Monday or a Friday, so that they're doing a thing called hybrid working. So the footfall, the number of people walking past, in this case, a Moleskine store, is very much reduced. And so it is a sign of the times. But they are, I think they're up against it. It'd be interesting to see whether there are other Moleskine store closures around the world as we speak. I don't know. But certainly this viewer drew my attention to the closure of the Moleskine store in possibly the most prestigious location, at least for Moleskine users potentially, in the UK. Very interesting that. I didn't know that. I've subsequently checked, and a Google search reveals the fact that it is, and I quote, permanently closed, unquote. I say no more. Next video. Again, we're on a theme here. Ink and paper test, Moleskine, noodlers, foam burning, and the viewer writes, what is the pen and price? So I am using a pen. It's a noodler's pen, and I didn't actually buy it. It came with a bottle of Noodler's Heart of Darkness. Another viewer informed me that it's actually a Platinum Preppy. And let me tell you about the Platinum Preppy. It is I've marked it as good but very cheap, and it has a very, very good reputation. Whenever you have people asking on social media, on the fountain pen networks, I'm a newbie, I'm just starting off, what can you recommend a good fountain pen that's very, very cheap? And a lot of people point amongst other pens to the Platinum Preppy, which certainly here in March 2024, I had a look last night. Cult Pens, CULT. They ship internationally, and they're a online pen retailer that has a very, very, very good reputation, and they do them for £4.50, which is not a lot for a very good pen. Now the thing is, I've written this £4.50 versus £8. Now, I will put a link to Cult Pens. I could put a link to Amazon, but they're typically £8, and I'm not going to send you to Amazon to buy one for £8 when they're available for £4.50. So there's no affiliate link here because it's not advantageous for you, the viewer. You can get them for £4.50, and you get them in a choice of colours and choice of nib widths. So they have an extensive selection. But this is interesting. When you look on Amazon, certainly here in the UK, they seem to be nearly quite often double the price now. That's probably because you've got lots of sellers using the Amazon platform, chancing their luck. Quite often you have to be very, very careful with Amazon, because you could easily buy something that only costs £20 and someone's advertising it for £50 in the hope that someone inadvertently will pay the £50 without realizing that it's a £20 item. So you have to be careful with Amazon, in particular Amazon, even though it's sort of fairly fair. I mean, I'm a seller on Amazon, so I'm using the Amazon platform to sell books. And so there are many people like me who can't afford to have and it just wouldn't be viable these days to have a bookstore on a high street, but we are still book dealers. I've been selling books for 20 years. amongst other things. Not so much now because I'm kind of retired, but nevertheless I'm still registered, and just occasionally I do sell a book. But certainly at the moment, as I record this, £4.50 Colt pens, around about £8 on Amazon. I suppose the advantage with Amazon is that you could get it straight away next day, even sometimes same day delivery. So if it's a distressed purchase and you specifically want a Platinum and Preppy within 24 hours, then maybe it's worth doing that. But that's down to you. Next video. It's not a video, so I'm just pointing this out without reference to any particular video. The viewer writes, people can tell you to get to the point, but they don't understand that often the journey is the goal, not the arrival point in itself. And he says, and we all love British people for their calm approach to life, brackets, you know, the world stops at 5 o'clock for tea and all that stuff. Don't make them hurry. Greetings from Italy. What a lovely thing. I'm going to say that this is a very kind comment. I'm going to award it the comment of the week. Lovely. Interestingly, yesterday I did have tea at 5 o'clock, just like the Queen did, presumably. But it was just, I don't set my watch to say, it's tea time now. Let's withdraw to the let's have tea in the, please serve tea in the drawing room, my good man. It isn't like that. It was definitely like that in Victorian society, but certainly, I know that at the Ritz, for example, not the Ritz, Claridge's, and I haven't been there, but I know of them. You can have afternoon tea at Claridge's, not just at 5, but they will serve you afternoon tea all the way through into late into the evening. So maybe that's a break with the tradition. I would say probably 100 years ago, you would not have been able to have afternoon tea served to you at 9 p.m. at night, but that's commercialism for you. I just want to say, I mean, I've said thank you. With regards to my slow pace of talking, this gentleman has said some very, very kind moves, but I am experimenting. I am just experimenting with fast motion with a voiceover, some more judicious editing, and also I'm experimenting in the speed of my delivery. I have received quite a few comments saying I don't get to the point. And I have typically answered them by saying, I'm in my 60s, I'm retired now. This, it's too late for me to change. And I tend to be someone that elaborates and digresses through speech, as you will have witnessed in this video. But I'm aware of it, and I'm trying different things to see if I can improve the viewers, or indeed the listeners' experience, because I want to make it fun and informative and relaxing. I want to wear all these hats. We're coming up to 58 minutes, 59 minutes now. So I am going to leave it there. I will leave links to products that I have mentioned in this podcast. If you're interested in helping support the channel, and you're planning on buying those things anyway, then I would say please use the links. I have started to put those links in pinned comments. So you go into the comments below, not the description, but the comments, and you will see a pinned comment. If I've discussed anything, then I will leave a pinned comment giving you the links, and those links will either be affiliate links where I earn a little bit of money, or if I can get a better deal for you with a company that doesn't provide me with any kickback or commission, then I'd still rather do that, because the most important thing for me is to find the best deal for you. And to that end, just be aware that there is a pinned comment on many of I can't go back all the way back to videos that are 280 videos again, but I'm going to be starting this, and they'll be in a pinned comment, which was a suggestion by a viewer, and I think it's a good one. So without further ado, can I say thanks very much for watching, or indeed listening. If you're listening, I think I've managed to get through the whole of this podcast without holding something up and showing it to people that are actually listening, which is not a good move. And then what I'm going to do is, you will see, I've got about, at least 30 topics here that I've written out, and so I've only covered a third of those, haven't I? So I'd like to keep those in. I may well do another podcast immediately after this one, at least from a filming perspective. But certainly over either today or tomorrow or the day after. But I'm going to carry on with these podcasts, as you know, I really enjoy doing them. But bear in mind that I'm aiming to do some coffee breaks as well, which are more informal. And from now on, I know I've been waffling at the beginning, at the end here, but from now on, the preamble and the waffle is going to be more in the coffee break side, and I'm just going to keep the podcasts where it's like answering questions and responding to your comments, and without the what I call the administration at the beginning and the end. So this is probably the last time you will hear this waffle at the end of a podcast, and I'm going to move it subtly or not so subtly to coffee breaks in the future, which are going to be more informal, and I'm looking forward to joining you, having a coffee while I discuss those things. So without further ado, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.